latest album is the greatest album and all that. But I'm still going through the honeymoon period with the latest album, and although I've heard it many, many times, and whenever anyone says to me, oh, I really like that one, At the Edge of Light, I am still very, very proud of it, and I think it's the first time I've ever done something that's used orchestra, but it's a rock album, but it's got fully, the little voice in my mind says, what about orchestra? You know, yeah, what about that? Yes, trios are lovely, blues is wonderful, guitarists do this, yeah, but you know, what happens with the rest of it? You know, all that, that kind of infinite space and infinite depth that, you know, when you're hearing, and say you're hearing something that sounds orchestral, and it could be almost by any composer, and you'd be thinking of, you know, powerful bass sounds that go with rock and roll. But there's this thing about the bass sound of an orchestra doesn't have any edge to it at all. It's got that idea of infinite bass, especially if you're listening on a boomy system and it's just wandering off there somewhere like the Queen Mary itself. Ooh, you know, it's just a fabulous thing. So, you know, the orchestras can be quite robust in that way. And of course, from the tradition of everything that we heard the Beatles do, the moment that they started putting down their own instruments and letting the old instruments take over to help the narrative of a story such as Eleanor Rigby, of course, somehow that seems to be the greatest thing, to not play and dress a song perhaps in the old clothes, the old instruments, the old sounds, almost as if I felt with Eleanor Rigby you could kind of smell the dust on the instruments and you could smell the dust in the room, and that extraordinary story, talking about the most poignant song ever, the idea of a neglected old lady, written by, you know, young 24-year-olds at that time, you know, at the top of their game. These guys, you know, were the gods of music at that time, who were looking over their shoulder at the unfortunate ones. So that's the wonderful thing about music, you know, it can include everyone, not just the young and fit and glorious. It's about all of us at any point in our lives.